Hello everyone and welcome to Tomorrow's Tech, brought to you by 3.digital. It's our goal to increase visibility of entrepreneurs and enterprise leaders who are harnessing technology, driving innovation and enabling sustainable business growth. So I'm very excited to welcome on the show today Cissy, who is a seasoned financial advisor with an impressive history leading large merger and acquisitions, buying and selling businesses and private capital raising. So welcome on the show, Cissy. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Sam, for the opportunity to be on the show.
Now, Cissy, you're a woman wearing many hats, but we'd love to focus on your private capital raising experience. What advice would you give to scale-ups looking to raise capital in Australia?
So 5 things. One is prepare. The second one, build relationship. The third one, create urgency. The fourth one is follow up. And the fifth one is don't give up. So you need to remember that all the angel investors or VCs, they're really busy people and they're being pitched at every day, pretty much numerous times every day. So as a scale up or a startup, every time you need to be prepared to give your elevated pitch at any time when you're asked. So when you do that, you will need to be concise. You need to tell them the why story and make the human connection.
So we've heard that there's a gap between angel and VC investing in Australia. What is your experience like?
Yes, that's my experience as well. I have jokingly said that there is no venture in VC in Australia. And Australian VCs are a bit like private equity in the US as well, because most of Australian VCs won't look at any scale-ups with less than $3 million of annual revenue. And a lot of scale-ups are in the $1 million of annual revenue bit. So that's where most of the angel investing comes in. Angel investors typically investing around 100,000, and VCs are 300 or 500,000 plus. So for $1 million annual revenue type scale-ups, then we need a large number of angel investors rather than a small number of venture capital in Australia. And sometimes it actually takes similar efforts to convince an angel investor and a VC.
I can absolutely believe that's the case. Mm-hmm. And how do you think we can encourage more early stage VC investors in Australia?
Yes, Australian government actually has a really good thing called Early Stage Venture Capital Limited Partnership Scheme. So it's a tax benefit. But in Australia, last year we had 77 of this type of funds. And this year we actually have 94. So there is an increase in the number of funds. But in terms of how much they actually invest, we haven't got the most current number, but last year's number actually shows that only, I guess, there's 73% of those funds don't actually invest greater than 5, scale-ups. So it's really not necessarily the number of this type of funds, but actually whether they are genuine early stage investors. So we need to, so the Australian government can do more in that respect because they can tighten the requirements of these type of funds to actually invest, to make sure that they do actually invest in early stage investment.
And that they're genuine.
Exactly. And the other part the Australian government can do is also to make sure that they have more procurement for the early stage startups as well, so that they can have early revenue or more traction, and then they can attract more venture capital investment in that respect.
We've heard from a lot of founders that there are investors out there that aren't genuine. So what advice do you have for them to prevent them wasting their time with non-genuine investors?
Asking qualification questions and do extensive due diligence on them. So I actually have a list of questions that I typically ask investors and OVCs. For example, I ask them whether they're investing for personal purposes or whether they're investing on behalf of a VC. What is the investment process? How long would it take them to actually make an investment? Who makes the decision on behalf? And also whether they actually have the cash to deploy at the time.
I think they're all relevant questions. It's key for founders to recall that they're interviewing the investor as much as the investor is interviewing them.
Most definitely.
So from there, do you have any advice regarding the timelines from the point that they open the conversation with the investor to when they're converging the deal?
I don't think there is a typical timeline, although I have read in the Forbes that talks about a 90-day to a 6-month timeline. But in terms of the experience I've had, typically angel investors would make a quicker decision because they don't have their own investment process to go through. But for VCs, because they need to go through their due diligence process, they need the legal due diligence, the operational due diligence, investment committees. It'll take a bit longer for VCs to come back.
Cissy, I understand that female founders received only a small portion of VC funding last year in Australia. So why is this the case and how can it be addressed?
It's actually not just in Australia. Globally, only 3% of the VC funding went to female founders. So Harvard Business Review actually did a study and they showed that VCs ask male founders future-oriented questions with positive outlook. And they ask female founders history-related questions with negative loss type of connotation. So as a result, they found that male founders got 7 times more funding than female founders under that study.
Wow.
So for founders, we need to guard against that bias. And to do that is to actually answer the negative and history-related questions with a future forecast. So turn the questions around.
Are there existing initiatives that can help with this, or does more need to be done?
Definitely more needs to be done. There are existing initiatives right now internationally. For example, there's SheEO, there's Female Founders Fund, there's Female Funders, and there's SoGal as well, SoGal Ventures. But in Australia, we actually don't have anything like that. The closest thing we have is actually Scale, which is a female-focused angel investing network, and also the Australian version of SheEO.
So do we need help from the government?
We do. The government could definitely help if they can set up a fund that is focused on female founders, and much the same way as Queensland government's successfully running business development fund.
Well, that's some great insights to see, and thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to have you on the show today.
Thanks a lot, Sam.
And thank you to our viewers for tuning into this episode. It's been wonderful to hear from Cissy and lift the veil on capital raising for the benefit of tech scale-ups in the community, in our innovation hubs and startup ecosystems. So follow us on our 3.digital LinkedIn page and join us for our next episode of Tomorrow's Tech.
Tomorrow's Tech, presented by 3.digital.